Simon Cowell. The name alone evokes images of thunderous buzzers, biting critiques, and the explosive birth of modern reality TV. But long before he became the kingmaker behind American Idol, The X Factor, and Got Talent, he was a forgotten face. In the back rooms of the music industry, a mailroom clerk with no degree, no direction, and no idea just how far grit and gut instinct could take him. Born in 1959 in Lambeth, London, Simon grew up in a modest household, the son of a ballet dancer and a music executive. He wasn't a star student. In fact, he dropped out of school and bounced around odd jobs, including one as a runner on Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, a gig he quit in frustration. Nobody could have guessed that this disillusioned young man would one day shape the sound of a generation and define an entire era of television. Simon's first real break came when he landed a job at EMI Music Publishing, thanks to his father's connections. But he didn't coast on family favors. He hustled, soaking in every part of the music business, from licensing to production. But the road wasn't easy. He faced failure after failure, launching labels that went bankrupt and signing acts that flopped. There were years when he was broke, living with his parents again, unsure if he would ever make it. But Simon had something that couldn't be taught, an almost supernatural sense of what the public wanted. That sixth sense paid off when he discovered and promoted novelty records, an emerging talent that other executives laughed off. Then came the idea that would change his life and ours forever. A televised talent competition where the audience could vote and the judges had the power to destroy or elevate dreams in real time. Pop Idol launched in the UK in 2001, and when American Idol debuted stateside in 2002, Simon Cowell became an overnight household name. His brutally honest style, dismissed by critics as mean-spirited, actually struck a chord with viewers. He said what others wouldn't. He challenged mediocrity, and he became the face of a cultural revolution in entertainment. While others sought popularity, Simon sought excellence. He turned and known like Kelly Clarkson and Leona Lewis into global stars. His show formats sold in more than 180 countries. His empire grew to include The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, and a constellation of music deals and TV projects, amassing him a fortune exceeding $600 million. But success, as it often does, came at a price. Behind the smirk and snark was a man navigating the pressures of global fame, enormous responsibility, and personal demons. In 2010, Cowell faced one of his first major scandals when The X Factor came under fire for manipulating contestant outcomes and editing judge reactions. Though he maintained his innocence, the incident took an emotional toll. Worse still was the tragic death of one of his most promising proteges 201 for X Factor finalists, Simone Battle, who died by suicide. Simon was devastated. He had believed in her, mentored her, and saw in her a reflection of his own underdog spirit. It wasn't just a professional blow, it was personal. He began to rethink his place in the world of celebrity and began stepping back from the limelight. But it wasn't long before fate tested him again. In 2020, at the height of the pandemic, Cowell was involved in a horrifying electric bike accident at his Malibu home. He broke his back in multiple places and underwent 6 hours of surgery, which involved placing a metal rod in his spine. For weeks, he was bedridden. For months, he couldn't walk without assistance. He was forced to miss key events, halt projects, and confront a reality he'd long avoided. He was mortal. That moment changed him. Gone was the flashy TV judge obsessed with ratings. In his place stood a quieter, more introspective man, one who spent more time with his longtime partner, Lauren Silverman, and their young son, Eric. The near-death experience reconnected Simon with life's fragility. He started rethinking everything: his work, his priorities, and most shockingly, his legacy. In 2023, Cowell stunned the world when he announced that he would not be leaving his fortune to his son. Instead, he planned to give it away to charities, 2 foundations that support music education and underprivileged youth, and 2 causes that promote creativity and opportunity. "I don't believe in passing on wealth from one generation to another," he said in an interview. "Your legacy should be what you give the world, not just your family." The internet exploded. Fans were divided. Some praised him for breaking the cycle of inherited privilege. Others condemned him for denying his son the security he had never known himself. But Simon remained unmoved. He believed that true success was earned, not handed down, and he wanted Eric to forge his own path free from the burden of his father's shadow. Behind that decision, however, was a lifetime of emotional complexity. Cowell had struggled with relationships for years. His brief, controversial engagement to Meshkin Husseini in 2010 ended quietly. His relationship with Lauren began amid scandal. She was still married when they conceived Eric. Tabloids had a field day, but Simon stayed silent. For years, he had built walls around his heart, guarded by sarcasm and cynicism. But fatherhood melted something in him. He became softer, more present, and in his own words, happier than I've ever been. Still, he couldn't shake the fear that giving Eric everything would ruin him, so instead, he He gave him time, love, and lessons that no trust fund could ever teach. Today, Simon Cowell no longer chases TV ratings. He mentors artists quietly. He speaks out about mental health. He funds music programs in inner-city schools. He rides bikes with Eric, the man who once thrived on cutting people down now finds joy in building them up. And yet, the journey isn't over. While Wowell recently hinted at a final television project, a global platform for unsigned talent that bypasses traditional media and gives power directly to creators. The future belongs to people with ideas, he said, not just the ones with connections. If that platform launches, it could redefine talent discovery once again, just as Idol did in 2002. But even if it doesn't, Simon Cowell has already secured his place in entertainment history. Not because he was the loudest voice in the room, but because he was the one who dared to speak the truth about talent, about success, and ultimately about himself. In a world obsessed with image, Cowell's greatest reinvention was not of others, but of his own legacy. He's no longer just the sharp-tongued judge. He's a father who leads by example, a mogul who's learned the value of humility, a man who, after years of defining others' futures, is finally writing his own with honesty, integrity, and a purpose far greater than fame. In the end, Simon Cowell's story isn't just about talent shows or money. It's about what we leave behind when the cameras stop rolling, and for Simon, that legacy is no longer measured in contracts or cash, but in character. Subscribe to Hollywood Untold for more emotional stories behind music legends and the feuds that shaped rock history. Tap the bell to never miss a beat.